Right now on Morning News Now, one giant leap. The intrepid crew of Artemis II etching their names into the history books this morning, becoming the first ever humans to see the widest and clearest picture yet of the far side of the moon. What they saw and what comes next as those 4 NASA astronauts begin their journey home. Deadline day, President Trump ramping up his rhetoric on the Middle East, giving Iran until 8 p.m. Eastern tonight to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face dire consequences at the hands of America's military. Meanwhile, back home, top lawmakers still on their spring break, but that's not stopping some Democrats from sounding off on the commander-in-chief's profanity-laced Easter threats on social media. More from Washington in a moment. Also this morning, how a quick stint on the exercise bike or maybe a trot down the block could give your memory a boost when you need it most. And kings of the dance, the men of Michigan reclaiming their March Madness throne for the first time in nearly 40 years. We're reliving last night's nail-biter against UConn later in the hour. Good morning. I'm Christine Romans in for Joe and Savannah today. We begin this hour with Artemis II's record-breaking and awe-inspiring mission. Yesterday, the 4-person crew circled the moon in their Orion spacecraft, becoming the first humans ever to see how much of the far side of the moon, so much of the far side of the moon with the naked eye, and traveling further from Earth than anyone has ever gone before. They surpassed the previous record set by Apollo 13 in 1970 by over 4,000 miles. But astronaut Jeremy Hansen expressed hopes that people will continue to push deeper into space.
From the cabin of integrity here, as we surpass the furthest distance humans have ever traveled from planet Earth, we do so in honoring the extraordinary efforts and feats of our predecessors. We, most importantly, choose this moment to challenge this generation and the next to make sure this record is not long-lived.
President Trump spoke with the astronauts after they accomplished this historic endeavor, calling them modern-day pioneers, and that they, quote, inspired the whole world. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has been following this mission since liftoff and joins us now from the Johnson Space Center in Houston with the details. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Christine, good morning. So that's right. Orion is right now on a return trajectory coming back to Earth. And this is the training space capsule that they quite literally have been training in for years as a part of this mission. And so far, it could not have gone better. Orion right now is about to break out of the moon's gravitational pull, transition to the Earth's gravitational pull as they head for splashdown in the Pacific. That'll be Friday at about 8 p.m. or so. But let's talk about yesterday, an incredible journey around the far side of the moon. In total, more than 252,000 miles from Earth to the moon, and they broke the old Apollo 13 record for the farthest human travel ever. And then as they flew over the far side of the moon at an altitude of about 4,000 to 5,000 miles or so, they took in the totality of the far side of the moon, pole to pole, giving humans the first human view ever of the total far side of the moon. Yes, Apollo astronauts certainly did transition around the moon, but they had a very tight view because they were at a very low altitude. And so now, for the first time ever, the Orion crew members have described and then photographed with thousands of photographs the far side of the moon. And all of that has already been transmitted to and downloaded to NASA, which is now going to start looking through all of those photographs and releasing that treasure trove of new scientific and photographic evidence for all of us to see. We'll get that later today. Bottom line is everything has gone very well, and now the crew is asleep as they now head back to Earth after a spectacular mission so far. And when they wake up, it'll be mission day 7. Christine?
All right, Tom, thank you so much. For more on this, let's bring in astronomer and space scientist Dr. Emily Rice. Dr. Rice, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just take a beat and consider what happened here last night. I mean, this is just mind-blowing. The Artemis II astronauts, the first humans ever to take in a total view of the far side of the moon. In your own words, what's the significance of all this? What did they see?
This is just amazing. I cannot overemphasize how stunning this is and how much this will inspire future generations, like Jeremy Hansen said. This is, I mean, besides this is the first time going back to the moon in 54 years, this view is just incomparable. So like Tom said, it's kind of the difference between the view from the Earth, the view of the Earth from the International Space Station, which is still relatively close to the Earth. And so you only see kind of a small fraction of it at any one time, compared to the view that we got on day 2 of the mission, that amazing Hello World image, where we see the whole Earth as a ball. And that's what they saw on the moon. They saw the whole far side, or almost all of the far side, illuminated as a ball. And they had amazing photographs that they could take with their camera equipment up there. They had a direct connection to lunar planetary scientists on the ground that were guiding them to take those pictures, and instructing them to describe what they were seeing, to find targets that they had pre-planned, also to find things that just looked interesting. It was an enormous day for science observing the moon from space. Very, very cool.
And when I just think about just the technology leaps in photography, for example, like the things that we can see today that the Apollo astronauts couldn't bring back. I mean, all of it is just so cool. I know the astronauts also became the first humans to witness an eclipse from the moon. And pilot Victor Glover said, quote, "Humans probably have not evolved to see what we're seeing. It's truly hard to describe. Hard to find the words to kind of make this relatable."
Yeah, I guess we're going to have to do some humanities training before we go back. No, they're doing a very great job with their statements and things like that. But actually, I think the human eyes are very well adapted to observe eclipses. I hope they got some good photographs, too, because photographing eclipses is notoriously challenging. But this is phenomenal that they got to see the sun pass behind the moon from their perspective and to see the corona of the sun from space. It's very, very different from an Earth eclipse because they're not going to like feel the effects that we get on Earth from the Earth's atmosphere when we're viewing a total solar eclipse. But still, being able to see that corona, that really extensive outer atmosphere of the sun that we just can't see when the sun is in the sky, is a phenomenal thing to be able to do from past the moon.
How eagerly are you and your colleagues awaiting the images that the crew took there? And what do you hope this inspires, I guess, for space exploration from here?
Oh, this is nothing short of phenomenal. I am like props to my colleagues who are doing comms and social for NASA and all kinds of agencies. Like, this is just, I really think this could change the way that we think about the moon. I think it was Christina Cook who was talking about it, that when she saw that far side of the moon for the first time, it stopped being a poster and started being a world. And I think that kind of shift in perspective, I hope it will happen for all of us, that this is a place where humans can go. This is a place where, you know, we can build a moon base. We can make it part of our world, for lack of a better term. We can make it a part of the human experience in a really, really new way, which is really exciting.
It's also far out, but it's also right. It's just right here, right in our living room. So amazing to watch. Dr. Emily Rice, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, let's move now to the latest out of the Middle East as the war with Iran stretches into its 6th week. This morning, the U.S. and Iran seem far apart in any diplomatic efforts to end this conflict, as President Trump's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline looms for Iran to reach a deal with the U.S. or face strikes on their critical infrastructure. And during a news conference at the White House on Monday, the president described what could be a devastating outcome for Iran.
We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours.
NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley joins us from Israel with the latest Matt, good morning. I mean, the president with deadlines and threats, that is how he negotiates. But those are strong, strong words. Where do the U.S. and Iran stand on ceasefire talks ahead of this deadline from the president?
Yeah, strong words and a very, very weak deadline. This is, by my count, the 5th time that the president has moved that ultimatum. It started last month, and now he has continued to move that ultimatum, saying he's going to be hitting Iranian power infrastructure and other civilian infrastructure if Iran doesn't reopen the Strait of Hormuz. It's fair to say the Iranians probably are taking these threats increasingly less seriously the more and more that they see President Trump backing down. But tonight, he seems to be serious. He's saying that there is going to be devastation throughout Iran if Iran doesn't comply with his demand to reopen the Strait, which, by the way, was open before Israel and the United States attacked Iran. Now, remember, back in the day when I was in Ukraine, and I think you and I spoke about this at the time, the Russians were striking Ukrainian energy infrastructure on a regular basis throughout winter, trying to weaken Ukrainian resolve in the face of the Russian advance. The entire global community came together and said that is a war crime. And that is exactly what they're going to be doing, what they already have been saying with President Trump preparing to attack civilian infrastructure in Iran, saying that he's going to be accused of a war crime. Now, when we're talking about these negotiations, we heard that Iran has actually rejected the latest U.S. offer for a ceasefire that would last around 45 days. This was delivered via the Pakistanis. The Iranians have said they won't engage in any ceasefire unless it means a complete and final end to what they're calling the U.S. and Israeli aggression.
Okay, so what more do we know about what the U.S. plans for Iran if they fail to reach a deal by this 8 p.m. Eastern deadline?
Well, we don't really know. That's going to be pretty early in the morning on this part of the world on Wednesday. The president has made it clear that he's going to be attacking energy infrastructure, power plants, things like that. Now, again, this would be the 5th time that he has moved this ultimatum. This ultimatum has been hanging over the region for weeks. It's not to say that the president won't follow through with it now, but he seems to have some optimistic views of how much his threats can push the Iranians to the negotiating table and force their hand once they're at the negotiating table. So far, the Iranians have not budged. It's been the U.S. who has regularly been proposing ceasefire agreements, and it's been the Iranians who've been rejecting them.
All right, Matt Bradley, thank you so much. Keep us posted there. As the war with Iran shows no signs of slowing down, the Department of Homeland Security remains shut down, and Congress is out of town on their second week of spring recess. And while lawmakers are away from Capitol Hill, their reactions are still trickling in to President Trump's expletive-laced threat post on Truth Social this Easter Sunday. NBC News senior national politics reporter Sahil Kapoor joins me now from Washington with the latest. Sahil, good morning. How is Congress responding to the president's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline for Iran to reach a deal with the U.S.?
Well, Christine, this one largely depends on members of which party you ask. Republicans are either quietly acquiescing to President Trump's entire strategy on Iran or vocally cheerleading it. In the latter category, a frequent Trump advisor, Senator Lindsey Graham, he posted a statement on this saying that Iran can't be allowed to control the Strait of Hormuz. He argued that President Trump is right to blow up their crucial infrastructure if they refuse to make a deal that's palatable to the U.S. He goes on to predict that there will be a gateway to peace in the Middle East previously unimaginable in its scope if this is carried out. Then there's Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, who looked at that post by President Trump and called on his cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove him from office. Murphy said, quote, "This is completely, utterly unhinged. He has already killed thousands. He's going to kill thousands more," end quote. I would not hold my breath on the cabinet actually acting on that threat. And beyond that, Christine, I think other members of Congress are quite familiar with this pattern by President Trump where he issues threats, where he dials up the rhetoric and ultimately doesn't carry through with them. He backs down and tries to use them as a negotiating leverage to get the Iranians to the table. Unclear how well that's working, but I don't think anybody in Congress would be surprised if that pattern holds again today. Yeah,
we saw something similar in trade negotiations, but certainly you heard Matt Bradley say that by his count, 5 times there have been these threats, and then the deadline has been walked back. During an interview with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker on Sunday, Senator Tim Kaine, he was skeptical of the Trump administration's 2027 budget plan, which included a $1.5 trillion request to Congress to fund the Defense Department. What's the reaction on Capitol Hill to this this huge funding request, and how are some lawmakers maybe pushing back on funding this ongoing war with Iran?
So first off, these budget requests by the White House never end up getting codified by Congress as is. These are simply opening bids, opening asks by the White House, and it's Congress who makes the final decision entirely on how much to spend on things like the military and on domestic funding. But this is a massive increase in military funding that President Trump is demanding, almost $500 billion larger than the military got last year, which is already a historically large $1 trillion budget. Senator Tim Kaine, the Democrat from Virginia, said he has a hard time seeing how this is justified. I think many Democrats will agree with him on this. And remember, you need 60 votes in the Senate to pass an appropriations request on military funding. So unless Republicans try to stuff this in their upcoming reconciliation bill, which they plan to use to fund ICE and CBP, which they very well might do, they might put some Iran war money, some Pentagon funding in there. It's extremely difficult for me to see how Democrats get, or how the White House gets this Pentagon request done.
And Sahil, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is seeking additional information following reports that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is holding the promotions of several black and female senior officers. NBC News reported on this last week, citing 9 U.S. officials familiar with the matter. Well, what can you tell us about that request?
Well, Senator Gillibrand sits on the Armed Services Committee. She has written a new letter to the chairman of the panel, the Republican Roger Wicker, asking him to exercise Congress's constitutional oversight and demand answers from the Pentagon. She says public reports allege that these holds may have been motivated by political ideology, inappropriate bias, or immutable and constitutionally protected characteristics rather than merit. She goes on to say military advancement must remain strictly meritocratic and based on performance. And of course, as you mentioned, this comes after NBC News had reported that Pete Hegseth had blocked or delayed promotions for more than a dozen black and female senior officers across the military. Christine.
All right, Sahil, thank you so much for that. Let's now bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel Warren, good morning. You know, there was a Pentagon press briefing that was scheduled for this morning. We were planning to sit there and watch and anchor that together. It's now been canceled, no reason given. You have been a spokesman for the Pentagon before. Do we read anything into this?
I wouldn't read too much into it yet. I think that was probably scheduled before the president's press conference.
Lengthy press
conference, right? We didn't even see the end of it. And then I think once they realized that this deadline, of course, is tonight, I can see a potential for a press conference tomorrow after this massive strike that may be planned.
You talk about this deadline today. The president has been threatening to hit bridges, to take out civilian power infrastructure in the country, and saying that he could bomb it back to the Stone Ages. We've been hearing some concerns that this is not the way the U.S. military behaves on the war front, on the war field. In fact, this is something the U.S. would criticize, for example, if Vladimir Putin were trying to do something like that in Ukraine. Is this the kind of thing that we need to be talking about as a red line the military may be crossing here in terms of war crimes?
I guarantee that the military is talking a lot about it internally, right? And I always try to be very careful with war crimes. It's a phrase that's easy to use but difficult to define. Is there some military application to what's being struck? Is there an alternate target that the military could have struck to achieve the same objective? Will this strike shorten the war? These are the types of questions that the military is asking itself as it runs through the legal process. I am confident, however, that Chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the commander of U.S. Central Command are going to stay within the bounds of the law.
And is this just a threat? This could be just simply a threat for negotiating perspectives. Also, we learned that the American F-15 fighter jet that was shot down, it was shot down by some kind of shoulder-fired missile in Iran. What does that tell you about Iran's capabilities, given that they're able to take down a plane like this? And what does it do? I mean, the United States military, the president keeps saying that we have control of the skies and that the military has been downgraded. But there are still these concerns about drones, errant missiles, and shoulder-fired missiles.
Oh, that's right. And these shoulder-fired missiles, many people have heard of a Stinger missile. Mm-hmm. This is something that we sort of know about. This is the type of missile that we believe brought down this F-15. We have to remember, while we have achieved, again, according to the military, who I listen to, we have achieved air superiority. But the definition of air superiority means that we can generally fly without interference. It doesn't mean that we're we're flying the friendly skies all of a sudden, okay? So there is still danger there. And there's several different types of weapons. Some of these frankly, these shoulder fire weapons are almost analog, right? They're very simple weapons that have been around for decades. And so, you can put it in the trunk of your car. So it's stuff that's still out there that's going to be impossible to completely eradicate.
Colonel Stephen Warren, we always thank you so much for your expertise. Thank you. All right, let's get a look outside at the plaza now. Clear skies here in New York, but a flood watch is in place for Florida's East Coast. We've got all the details with your morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Angie Lassman joins me now. Good morning, Angie.
Hi, Christine. Good morning to you. A not so sunny Sunshine State today for folks across Florida. You can see, as you mentioned, there is a flood watch in effect right now for 7 million people up and down the East Coast, and a whole lot of moisture just kind of hanging around the peninsula. This is going to last here through the day today. You can see how it plays out. We've got this stationary front kind of just sitting over the southern tip of the state, and this is leaving us with that heavy rain and the potential for some urban flooding across this region. We'll also see issues with rip current risk as well as beach erosion. I'll show you that here in a moment when it comes to the rip current risk. But even as we get into tomorrow, still some additional rain showers, that moisture still coming in on those onshore winds. This is leaving us with the potential to see multiple inches of rain in a short period of time. We look ahead to Thursday, just a couple days from now, and between now and then, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. We know how easy it is for some locations across South Florida specifically to flood, so we likely will be looking at that across that region here over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, I did mention that we've got the beach erosion and the wind and the rip current risk as an issue, and that's because of the wind. Notice those northeasterly winds, 20 to even up to 50-mile-per-hour gusts are going to be possible here over the next day or so. Maybe a couple of power outages. I'm not quite as concerned about that. More so concerned about the coastal erosion and those rip current risks for anybody that does find themselves in the water. That high rip current risk is going to be up and down the East Coast from Jupiter Island all the way up into portions of Georgia. So something to note here through the day today, at least, likely lasting through the next couple of days as well. Meanwhile, farther to the north, we've got a bit of shower activity and some snow showers to talk about. You can see it coming across parts of the Great Lakes as well as the Northeast, waking up to some of these lighter showers. This is a system that's going to kind of slide across New England, bring us some additional snow through the day today, but it'll be long gone by the time the evening rolls around, so we won't have to worry about that for much longer. One other thing to note, it's chilly out there across parts of really the Ohio Valley, the Appalachians, stretching out to the East Coast. We've got Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Cincinnati, and Indianapolis all included in there. 41 million people under these freeze alerts. And you can see why. Just 22 for your actual temperature in Detroit, but feeling like 13 degrees. We've got a feels like of 20 in Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., waking up to feeling like 44 degrees. Christine, and you can see even farther south, it's 30s and 40s that we're dealing with across much of this region. So spring in the air in some spots, just not right there.
I was overly optimistic a couple weekends ago. I bought a bunch of plants, and it's just not time yet.
Oh,
I know.
No, not the tulips.
Big spring fail. All right, Angie Lassman, thank you. More to come on this hour of Morning News Now. A little later, we'll dive into some eye-opening research, new research on the impact a little exercise can have on your memory and how quickly you absorb fresh facts. But first, after the break, South Korean intelligence pointing to Kim Jong-un's teenage daughter as his apparent successor. We'll dig into that next. Welcome back. In overseas news, South Korea's spy agency says it has what is calling credible intelligence that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has positioned his teenage daughter as his successor. Intelligence officials briefed South Korean lawmakers about their assessment, citing recent public appearances of her at military exercises right alongside her dad. NBC News International correspondent Janice Mackey-Frayer joins me now with more on this. Janice, welcome. Tell us a bit more about why the South Koreans believe Kim Jong-un's teenage daughter is now his likeliest heir. What kind of evidence are they pointing to?
Well, Christine, the intelligence has evolved together with the imagery of Kim Jong-un and his daughter. And it's a fascinating timeline that has seen them at missile launches. They're shooting weapons. They've been driving tanks. Most recently, they were looking at puppies and kittens. That South Korea's spy agency has made its assessment in this way is the clearest sign yet to the rest of the world that she will be the future leader. You see, less than 2 months ago, officials in Seoul said it was likely that Kim was grooming his most beloved daughter, as she's being called by North Korean state media. Now they say it's, quote, fair to view her as his heir, and it's a sharper stance. South Korea has been tracking these signals that have been coming out of Pyongyang, and fair to also say that this is a transition that is going to be very closely watched here in China and in the U.S. as well. Christine?
Janice, what do we actually know about her?
Not very much. She's believed to be named Ju-ai, and she's thought to be 13 or 14 years old. And not even South Korea's intelligence agency has much more information on her than that. The only real source so far on her existence, strangely, is Dennis Rodman, who visited Kim in North Korea back in 2013, and he said that then he held Kim's baby girl. Now, over the past several months, Ju-ai has been seen at Kim's side. And the images, of course, have all been curated, and they've been sent out very deliberately to build this succession narrative. And Kim Jong-un is seen as wanting to highlight her military exceptionalism and to maybe normalize the idea of a female successor. As for Kim Yo-jong, who is Kim's sister and ally, she's likely to continue to play a role in his policymaking and being the outward speaking voice to other countries, but it seems she won't be taking over.
And Janice, not all observers and analysts necessarily agree with this assessment by South Korean intelligence, right? Why is that?
North Korea is a deeply patriarchal society. And for 3 generations, power has passed from father to son. Kim Jong-un choosing a daughter would be this historic break with tradition. And in a regime of hardliners, it will be a complete overhaul of power structures. And it's believed that Kim may be trying to do the work now to foster loyalty inside the regime to ensure that there's this continuity of the family's power over the party, and to do it long before any announcement that she is the successor. But we shouldn't see this as a victory for women's rights. What Kim Jong-un is telegraphing is that he's choosing bloodline over everything else, and it could change. Some experts assume that Kim Jong-un has other children, including a son, who may be debuted at a later date. But for now, all eyes are on a girl who intelligence agencies regard as the world's most dangerous 13-year-old, and she is arguably the most mysterious, too. Christine?
All right, Janice Mackey-Frere for us. Thank you, Janice. Staying overseas, the British government now weighing whether to allow the artist formerly known as Kanye West into the country as controversy grows around a London festival he is set to headline, with major sponsors now backing out. The government is reviewing his status after the controversial star, who has a history of anti-Semitic remarks, was announced as a headliner for this 3-day event later this summer. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has more.
The British government is considering a possible travel ban on music titan turned pariah Ye. A United Kingdom government source telling NBC News ministers are reviewing the musician's permission to enter the UK. The controversial artist formerly known as Kanye West was just announced as a headliner for this summer's 3-day wireless music festival in London, despite an extensive history of anti-Semitic behavior. Despite this, the wireless festival tapping Ye for their shows, drawing sudden backlash.
At what point do we say you are so harmful and so toxic that you don't get to have this redemption?
Now at least 4 corporate festival backers, including presenting sponsor Pepsi, have distanced themselves from the festival. A representative for Ye did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. Previously, he's referred to himself as a Nazi, and last year even released a song praising Adolf Hitler. Then in January, Ye took out a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, apologizing for his history of reckless anti-Semitic comments and attributing his behavior to an undiagnosed brain injury and mental health issues.
Come to find out, it's really a case of autism that I have.
This weekend, Ye kicked off a world tour, thousands packing LA's SoFi Stadium for 2 sold-out shows.
I saw this guy post something, and he's like, it's his first concert in 2 years. Yeah, because he's been busy making swastika t-shirts.
Why is people mad that Kanye West is having concerts?
I don't think Kanye West was ever really canceled. I think his fans, while some of them for sure questioned, whether to keep listening to his music, others just stuck around.
The Wireless Festival's organizer is asking fans to give Ye a second chance. The organizer's executive director writing, "I would ask people to reflect on their instant comments of disgust at the likelihood of him performing, as was mine, and offer some forgiveness and hope to him." It's important to note that Ye's most recent apology was not his first. In 2023, he issued an apology for anti-Semitic comments, but just over a year after that apology, he posted that he loved Hitler. So the question this morning is, will this time actually be different? Christine?
All right, Jesse Kirsch. Thank you, Jesse. And more international news now. This morning, multiple people dead after a shooting near the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. NBC News international correspondent Danielle Hamamdin joins me now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Christine. That's right. We begin with this developing story out of Turkey, where police were engaged in a gunfight this morning in the vicinity of the Israeli consulate in Istanbul. According to the city's governor, at least one attacker was killed and 2 others injured, adding that they used rifles and pistols in the assault. Both Israeli and Turkish officials confirmed that no Israeli diplomatic staff were present. The Turks adding there have been no staff there in 2.5 years. To Australia now, where the country's most decorated soldier is facing the prospect of life in prison. Ben Robert Smith was arrested at Sydney Airport. He was charged with 5 counts of war crime murders relating to the killing of unarmed civilians during his deployment in Afghanistan. The 47-year-old denies all wrongdoing. And finally, to Croatia, where even the animals got an Easter treat. Monkeys, meerkats, chimpanzees, and brown bears were among the animals at Zagreb Zoo who were served up some Easter eggs. The zookeeper said the eggs are made out of paper, flour, and water, and stuffed with each species' preferred food. Very cute.
That's very cute. All right, Danielle. Thank you so much, Danielle. Coming up, managing medical anxiety. It's something a lot of people deal with, whether it's worrying about a doctor's visits or test results. But how you can cope with those unsettling thoughts. We'll pick our doc's brain next in our weekly mental health check-in. Stay with us. We are back now with your weekly mental health check-in. This morning, we'll talk about medical anxiety and ways to manage it. Plus, we've got new research on not one, but 2 ways to keep your brain healthy. Let's bring in Dr. Scott Lyons. He's an integrative psychologist and CEO of the Embody Lab. Good morning, Dr. Lyons. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start with this concept of medical anxiety. A lot of people experience this before a doctor's visit or a procedure or while waiting for a diagnosis. Talk us through the problem and some of the ways to cope.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things for the brain to handle is uncertainty. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. And research shows that people can feel more stress for not knowing what's going to happen than knowing something bad will happen. So not knowing the diagnosis is actually more anxiety producing than knowing what's going to come from the diagnosis. And that's because the brain is constantly trying to predict. And when it can't, it increases anxiety. And what helps isn't eliminating the uncertainty, because we can. It's changing how we relate to it. So first, I'm going to invite people to distract themselves with something absorbing. We call that auto-regulation. So when your attention is fully engaged, it actually interrupts the anxiety loop. And the second thing I'm going to invite people to do is practice something called preemption. And that's taking small, proactive steps towards something that helps you feel less at the mercy of the unknown, like finding the top 3 doctors that might help you navigate the situation. Third thing you're going to do is make sure you recognize you're not alone. Uncertainty is a universal human stress, and finding other folks who are navigating it actually reduces the stress. And finally, seek support. Anxiety actually intensifies in isolation, but softens when it's shared.
Interesting. All right, so this other new research shows that we can actually improve, Doc, our memories with physical exercise. How does this work, and what kind of exercise is most effective for helping me remember?
Yeah. So we've known exercise is good for the brain for a long time, but what's exciting is we now understand Why? So research shows that aerobic exercise, something simple like walking or getting on a stationary bike, can actually improve memory. So when you move, you increase blood flow and oxygen to the brain, and you also trigger release of chemicals that helps the brain cells actually grow and communicate more effectively. And at the same time, the brain becomes more active, like little sparks, in the exact place and patterns that uses to store memories. So you're not just moving your body, you're actually helping your brain lock things in. So if you're trying to remember something, a conversation or a name, or even studying, pairing it with exercise can actually improve retention and the recall of it.
Wow. Take a walk 4 hours after you've studied for a test, and that's going to help you kind of lock it in. So there's the stationary bike, and then there's the stationary, like what you write on. That's another way to keep your brain healthy. Talk about writing letters the old-fashioned way with a pen and paper. There are mental benefits to handwriting letters.
Yeah, there really are, and receiving them. I have a dear friend who writes handwritten letters all the time, and it's so beautiful and impactful. And there's something really powerful that happens when we write by hand. It actually activates areas of the brain tied to memory and creativity and emotion more than typing actually can. But the deeper piece that's actually here is that there's more sensory information coming in as you write by hand. So it helps us connect more to the present moment, and writing helps slow you down. So you have to really decide what matters, what to say, what to include. And that process helps the brain encode the experience more deeply. It's more meaningful. And there's also a relational impact to it too. So receiving a handwritten letter creates a sense of being seen that's really different than a text or an email. And it really increases a sense of meaning and connection. For a lot of us who grew up writing like you and I did, it also creates a sense of nostalgia. So a few things that helps to get started. You got to let go of your hangups. So for me, I have terrible handwriting, but you got to let it go. And you want to link it to a routine like your morning coffee. And, I always recommend reaching out to a long lost friend. Just even envisioning it has a beautiful psychological effect of excitement. And then always end your letters with a question so it invites conversation.
That's so smart. And you know what? You have just validated me, Dr. Lyons. I make my kids write grandma a letter, and they hate me for it, so I win.
You tell them it's good for them.
It's good for them. Dr. Lyons, thank you so much. All right, for the first time in 50 years, New York officials say fish from the Hudson River are safe to eat again, but not everyone is ready to take a big bite. Reporter Andrew Siff from NBC New York has more.
Brandon Mosley says you won't catch him making a meal of whatever he reels in. You're not going to eat this fish.
No, absolutely not.
That is the dichotomy that we see.
Audrey Van Genekten is one of the state health department's top fish experts. She confirmed new official guidance for the first time in 50 years. Everyone in the family can now eat some fish from the lower Hudson River. The reason? A lower level of toxic chemicals known as PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls.
PCB levels in some of the fish have gone down enough that we're now able to allow families, so even, younger women and children, to eat some of the fish.
The general population can now eat up to 4 meals a month. The state also says stick to the striped bass. Do not eat carp or smallmouth bass, or some of the other strange things that have lunged at Brandon's bait.
It looks just like the Simpsons fish, except without the 1,000 eyes.
To be extra safe, the state says whatever you catch,
you remove the skin and fat and cook it so the fat drips off. You can get rid of about 50% of whatever PCBs are left.
I'm from Colombia. We actually eat the fish from the river.
The advice makes sense to those who've seen the mighty Hudson grow less polluted year after year.
It's clean, the river is clean.
But while you can now eat the fish,
blue fish,
maybe the fish somehow got wind of this.
Nothing, it's quiet.
They weren't biting today.
All right, our thanks to Andrew Siff for that report. Coming up, a big win for Big Blue. When Morning News Now returns, the men of Michigan will waken up as kings of the big dance after a nail-biting conclusion to March Madness. We'll bring you the highlights next. We are back now with a new federal push to lower the costs of childcare for families and help more parents stay in the workforce. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin has more.
Thank you. Come on this way.
Most days, India Brown, a single mom, brings her 2 young children to this care center in Alabama.
And knowing that, we have somebody that cares about kids and their well-being, this is a good thing. What about this one?
It is a good thing for her family. India Brown is able to work because the federal government subsidizes childcare.
I get to drop my kids off knowing that they're safe, that I can keep them here for a couple of hours, go to work, provide for them.
For the first time in decades, Congress passed $16 billion in new child care spending, signed into law by President Trump. More families can get a bigger tax credit. Working parents can claim up to half of child care costs, depending on income. And businesses are getting bigger subsidies, allowing workers to set aside more pre-tax dollars. And this could make a big dent, because Labor Department data shows American families spend up to 16% of their median income on full daycare just for one child.
They're very hungry.
Senator Katie Britt, a mom of 2 and the youngest Republican woman elected to the Senate, led the effort with Democratic Senator Tim Kaine.
I don't have to ask people what it's like to be raising kids right now. So many of these things are things that I've experienced in my own life.
She met with child care providers and advocates to discuss the impacts.
It enabled a lot of parents to go back to work.
Britt framed the push as an economic issue. It's how she convinced her party to get on board.
The dependability of childcare, affordability, accessibility is an impediment to people who want to be in the workforce.
99% of the kids who go to this child care center in Montgomery, Alabama, rely on federal subsidies, and without that funding, their parents would have no options.
Lower-income families in at least 5 other states, all run by Democrats, are bracing for potential disruptions after the White House attempted to freeze certain federal child care funding, citing fraud concerns.
What if it just went away? What would you do?
Figure it out.
It would be hard, though, right?
If we didn't have daycare, I don't know. Most parents wouldn't be able to survive.
Julie Sirkin, NBC News, Montgomery, Alabama.
Yeah, childcare, critical issue. All right, more money news now. The White House is proposing a sweeping overhaul of airport security. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has your Money Minute. Good morning, Allie.
Good morning, Christine. That's right. The White House proposing this major shakeup at TSA. Now, that includes privatizing some airport screenings. It's all part of a broader plan to cut about $1.5 billion from the agency's budget, bringing it down to around $7.8 billion. That's a nearly 20% reduction. Now, one piece of that includes shifting smaller airports to private screeners paid for by TSA, which the White House says could save about $52 million. The push follows recent travel disruptions, including long security lines during the partial government shutdown, raising new questions over how airport security is run. And from the skies to the road, an alert for drivers. Toyota is recalling more than 73,000 Corolla Cross hybrid vehicles after federal regulators said the pedestrian warning sound may be too quiet when the car is in reverse. Now, the fix is a free software update, with owners expected to be notified by late May. You can check out the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's website for more details. And finally, an update in the delivery wars. Amazon has reportedly reached a new deal with the United States Postal Service to cut the number of packages it sends through the agency by about 20%. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, it's a much smaller cut than initially expected after Amazon had previously considered slashing volumes by as much as 2/3. The Postal Service relies heavily on Amazon for billions in revenue, so even this reduction could still have a meaningful impact. NBC News has reached out to both Amazon and USPS for comment. Christine?
All right, Allie, thank you so much. Of course. For just the second time in school history, the Michigan Wolverines men's basketball team, kings of the dance. Michigan defeated UConn last night 69-63 to win the NCAA tournament in front of 70,000 strong at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. It's their first Wolverines. It's the Wolverines' first national championship since 1989. Michigan finishes their historic season with a record of 37-3. Sports reporter Baker Pachado joins me here in the studio to break it all down for us. Good morning. What a night. They are still celebrating in Ann Arbor, I am sure, the big win against the Huskies. The Wolverines mostly coasted, really, into the title game in their 5 games before that. How were they able to pull this off?
I mean, most of this was NIL money, and this is basically how college sports is now basically structured and organized. Us at Front Office Sports can report that Michigan's basketball team had an NIL budget of $10 million, which is the most expensive in college basketball, and that's pretty much why they coasted throughout most of the national championship. And by the way, congrats to all of those who picked Michigan in their March Madness brackets as well. As you mentioned, the first time in 37 years that Michigan wins the national championship, and also a big one for the Big Ten because they hadn't won the national title since 2000 when Tom Izzo and Michigan State had won it, of course, preventing UConn, who basically created this dynasty, from winning the national championship 3 of the last 4 years here, Christine.
You talk about NIL money, it's a whole new landscape. Also, you saw the starting 5 of the winning national championship team were all transfer students. That is also another hallmark of this new era we're in.
Absolutely. And by the way, right at midnight after this game was over, the transfer portal opened all over again. So now who knows what a lot of these rosters are going to look like. And by the way, we should note, moments after this was over, I checked the sports books. The teams that are basically going to be the favorites to win it next year are all the teams that have the most money out there. It's Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and Florida. All these teams with tons of money. And the Big Ten specifically, 3 of the top 7 teams that made the Sweet 16 had the highest NIL budgets out there in Illinois, Michigan, and Michigan State out there. But you're seeing Dusty May, the head coach right there of Michigan. He's an amazing story. Just 2 years ago, Michigan had the most losses in school history, fired one of their biggest legends in Juwan Howard, and 2 years later had the most amount of wins they've had in school history and now a national championship.
So let's talk about the other side. Connecticut, looking to win their 3rd title in the last 4 seasons. Still a great season,
of course,
for the Huskies. But why didn't they squeak it out here?
Last night, I mean, you could just tell the size advantage that Michigan had last night, and Michigan overcame this with just 2 out of 15 3-pointers last night, which was pretty incredible. But Dan Hurley, I want to mention something for him because if UConn would have won last night, really would have hit history. He's only one of 17 men's college coaches with multiple national titles, and his 20-6 NCAA tournament record is only second to the legendary John Wooden out there. So UConn still incredibly fine, but just incredible to think that they, almost pulled it off. They were down by 11 with just a couple minutes left in the game, cut it down to 4 with 40 seconds left. I thought for a moment they might be able to pull it off, but didn't end up happening. But can I make one last mention on something? The game didn't even start until 10 till 9 last night. So for those of us like me and you who have to get up so early to watch, to do this, that's crazy that it was after midnight last night before it was
American
all over.
Productivity just soared starting today, right? Well, maybe after people are tired today, tomorrow American productivity will return now that March Madness is over. But, there's a potential talk about the March Madness actually expanding the number of teams involved. What's the future look like here?
I mean, so right now we're at 64 teams. The talk right now is maybe you could get to 72 or even close to 80 teams out there. Again, this would have to be all ratified by the athletic directors and the NCAA to actually have this happen. But the thing that I've been most fascinated by from conversations I've had with athletic directors, it wouldn't be the smaller mid-major schools that would have the bigger opportunity to get in there. There'd be more of these SEC schools like Auburn who didn't get into the NCAA tournament that might be able to get in there. So it looks like there is momentum towards expansion, possibly to 72 teams. But if you're one of these smaller schools out there, maybe like a Miami, Ohio, or one of these other smaller ones, Loyola, Chicago, don't bet on that increasing your odds of making it into the NCAA tournament.
All right, Baker Machado, Front Office Sports. Nice to see you. Thank you. All right, coming up, one final call. The 911 dispatcher who guided folks through some of their darkest moments for decades, now at the other end of the line for an emotional farewell to duty. Her viral story next. Finally this hour, a 911 dispatcher who spent decades taking calls and helping others was moved to tears by the calls she received during her final shift. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas has her story.
Tonight you'll sign in for your last shift.
For 30 years, dispatcher Haley Franklin was a trusted voice on the other side of the phone, answering 911 calls in Stanley County, North Carolina.
What's your name?
The job meant decades of 12-hour shifts,
Station 90, brush fire, straightening.
helping people in some of their hardest moments. But on her last day, when her final calls came in, the voices on the other end were familiar.
This is your firstborn. For over 30 years, your voice guided strangers through their darkest hours. Your heart carried the weight of 1,000 stories, and your strength never wavered.
One by one,
Your second born.
her loved ones dialing in to share how much her years of service mattered.
Congratulations, hon. You made it. I'm so proud of all of your accomplishments.
I felt my heart just about come out of my chest. Just to know that those people cared enough to do that for me, it just blew my mind.
The phone call surprise now going viral.
I still feel like I'm on cloud 9 from it. It's still very emotional and still feels almost like a dream sometimes. You never know what people are going through. So just be nice.
Happy retirement, Mama. I love you.
Oh, and our thanks to Tom Yamas for that touching story. That does it for this hour of Morning News Now. The news continues right now. And good morning. I'm Christine Romans. Joe and Savannah are on assignment. Right now on Morning News Now, looming deadline. Iran remains defiant this morning despite President Trump's threat to bomb the country's infrastructure if they don't reopen the Strait of Hormuz by tonight.
We're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, and after that, they're going to have no bridges, they're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah.
Iran rejecting a ceasefire overnight, calling instead for a permanent end to the war. More than 3,000 people have been killed across the region since it began. We have the latest on the urgent negotiations. Plus, travel tensions. A growing number of Americans are rethinking vacation plans as the ripple effects of global events from the war with Iran to the government shutdown trigger higher ticket prices and airport chaos. We'll tell you what you need to know if you're still planning to hit the road. Also this morning, history in the making. The Artemis II mission capturing never-before-seen views of the far side of the moon and setting a record for the farthest humans have ever traveled in space. We'll show you the breathtaking moments aboard the Orion capsule. And finally, Michigan holds on. The Wolverines survive a last-minute scare, taking home the title of national champions, beating UConn in a nail-biter and winning their first men's NCAA title in more than 3 decades. We have the highlights later this hour. We begin this hour, though, with the war in Iran that is now stretched into the 6th week. President Trump warning the Iranian regime to strike a deal to end the conflict by 8 tonight, or else the U.S. will bomb Iran's bridges and power plants. Some critics say those actions could be a war crime under international law. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake has the latest. Good morning, Garrett.
Hey, Christine, good morning. President Trump has set, then reset these kinds of dramatic deadlines before, but arguably never with the stakes so high. The U.S. has thousands of Marines and soldiers now deployed in the Middle East, and the president has taken no options off the table as he weighs a dramatic escalation of this war with Iran if there's not a deal by tonight to end it on his terms.
Thank you very much.
With the clock ticking towards his 8 p.m. deadline, President Trump warning Iran must strike a deal now, calling on the country to end the war by tonight or face dire consequences.
I mean, complete demolition. It'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to.
The president elaborating on his profane Easter Sunday post threatening to destroy Iran's infrastructure.
Because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again.
Some Democrats say making good on those threats crosses a major red line.
He's definitely threatening a war crime against the people of Iran.
But the president doesn't see it that way.
No, not at all. No. I hope I don't have to do it.
Mr. Trump also delivering mixed messages on negotiations, which the Iranian regime has denied are taking place.
I can tell you they're negotiating, we think, in good faith. We're going to find out.
The president insists any deal must include Iran reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Asked yesterday if he was winding down the war.
I don't know. I can't tell. It depends what they do. This is a critical period.
The president and his top aides also touting the daring rescue of 2 American airmen whose F-15E was shot down by a shoulder-fired missile in Iran last week. The pilot was located first, with U.S. aircraft flying 7 hours to rescue him. The second airman was still missing, the CIA confirming he was badly injured but alive, hiding in a mountain crevice.
He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location.
In his news conference yesterday, the president also complained that one of the most challenging aspects of striking a deal with Iran is simply communicating with their leaders after weeks of war and targeted killings. The process, he said, is akin to passing notes, largely through mediators like Pakistan and Oman. It's a time-consuming effort as that deadline grows closer. Christine?
All right, thanks, Garrett. As President Trump's 8 p.m. Eastern deadline looms, the U.S. and Iran seem far from reaching a deal to end this war. 2 regional officials and a senior White House official tell NBC News Iran has rejected a 45-day ceasefire deal that was delivered to the U.S. and Iranian officials by Pakistan. And despite President Trump's ultimatum, Iran is demanding a permanent end to the war, as some officials urge the country's youth to form human chains around power plants to protect their infrastructure from U.S. strikes. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins me now from Israel with more. Good morning, Steph.
Hey, Christine. So, you know, the public message right now in Iran remains defiant. But President Trump says the country did offer up a ceasefire plan. He called it significant, but then said it didn't go far enough. Now, as time is running out, you have some Iranians saying they are willing to put themselves between U.S. missiles and power plants in Tehran.
New video this morning of U.S. strikes in Iran. Flames and smoke billowing from a petrochemical plant on the coast of the Persian Gulf. A distorted voice says it's hard to breathe. Everything is burning after multiple bombs hit. With just hours left before President Trump's latest deadline for Iran to strike a deal, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth promising not to let up the daily bombardment.
Today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation. Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely, because this president does not play around.
President Trump says the U.S. has flown more than 10,000 combat missions and hit more than 13,000 targets. He's now vowing to focus on civilian targets, but Iranians say that has already begun, including a professor at Tehran's Sharif University who says his school was hit by rockets.
This is a purely academic institution, and we are doing just research, teaching.
Also overnight, a new message from Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, who has not been seen or heard since the war began. The statement read on Iranian TV accusing the U.S. and Israel of resorting to terrorism and assassination after the killing of the intelligence chief for Iran's Revolutionary Guard. But the statement said nothing about negotiations to end the war. Iran's proposed 10-point ceasefire plan was rejected by the White House Monday, so the clock continues to tick down. Musician Ali Gamsari vows he'll play music outside this power plant in Tehran through President Trump's deadline. Threats to civilian infrastructure, he says, are threats to his people.
We are now hearing unconfirmed reports this morning that Karg Island is getting bombed. This is the island in the Persian Gulf, Christine, where 90% of Iran's exports flows through. And we have heard from a number of U.S. officials who have told NBC News that this is a place that the U.S. military is considering taking control of with ground troops. Christine?
All right. Thanks so much, Stephanie Gosk, there for us. Let's now bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Stephen Warren. Good morning again. As we mentioned, the president is threatening this attack on civilian infrastructure, power plants and bridges by 8 p.m. Eastern tonight if Iran doesn't open the Strait of Hormuz. As you saw in Stephanie's piece there, U.S. and Israeli strikes on things like universities, petrochemical plants, those have already been happening. War crimes experts are concerned about a potential, breach of international humanitarian law. What are the consequences if the U.S. continues to bomb civilian infrastructure?
So significant consequences, right? If we continue to bomb civilian infrastructure and if there is no justifiable military purpose to those strikes, well, then certainly the international War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague could potentially be involved and even issue indictments. Now, that said, I remain very confident in our military chain of command that they are taking all the necessary steps to ensure that doesn't happen.
Okay. With tonight's deadline in mind, how do you interpret the fact that there was a Pentagon briefing scheduled for today that then was hastily canceled? Is it, I mean, we heard the president talk for a couple of hours yesterday about, military moves. Maybe they just didn't need one, or is there something else happening there?
Yeah, I talked to some folks in the Pentagon, and I believe it was just scheduling conflict is all it was. You know, the Pentagon briefing scheduled first. The president then laid on his briefing, and the Pentagon briefing became moot.
And, Colonel, the Trump administration says the F-15 fighter jet that was shot down was brought down by a shoulder-fired missile in Iran. What does that tell you about the state of play on the battlefield?
That's really important, right? As we have achieved air superiority in Iran, we have proven that we can fly generally unaccosted through the skies. But let's be clear, Christine, those are not the friendly skies. There are still Iranian capabilities out there that can threaten our forces. And as we saw with the F-15, also with the A-10 that was trying to help recover the F-15, and some helicopters, it's a dangerous place to be.
You're flying so many of these missions, 13,000 missions, I think, so far. And there are drones, there are still missiles, there are these shoulder-fired missiles. War is a dangerous game.
Well, it is dangerous, but you bring up a fabulous point very quickly. 13,000 missions, one plane shot down. Those kind of numbers aren't something you see every day.
Very good point. All right, Colonel, thank you so much. Nice to see you. All right, this morning, the astronauts of Artemis II are making their way back to Earth after a historic trip to the moon. The four-person crew traveled farther from Earth than anyone has ever gone before and became the first humans ever to see so much of the far side of the moon with the naked eye. And this morning, they have the stunning photos to prove it. NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello has covered NASA for over 20 years and joins me now from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Tom, good morning.
Hey, Christine, good morning. We cannot wait to see these photos from NASA, hopefully later today. At the moment, the crew is asleep. They have now left the moon. They're traveling at about 1,200 miles per hour, and the Earth's gravitational pull will, in fact, bring them home. They've got 240,000 miles to go. The crew of Artemis II homeward bound this morning after a record-setting lap around the moon. The astronauts also beaming back never-before-seen snapshots from space.
There's a nice crater right at the South Pole.
Getting a total view of the far side of the moon. And then a total solar eclipse. The sun disappearing behind the moon for 53 minutes.
We just went sci-fi. This has, it just looks unreal.
The crew also getting a call from the president.
You really are modern-day pioneers, all of you.
And reflecting on their journey around the moon.
One of the biggest highlights was coming back from the far side of the moon and having the first glimpses of planet Earth again.
The astronauts spent the 7-hour lunar flyby training their cameras on a very long list of pre-selected targets, including the massive Oriental Basin, called the Grand Canyon of the moon.
The mountain chains that form its eastern side are very prominent.
And the Terminator, the Stark Line, where light meets dark.
It is just like impossibly rugged.
Orion flying farther into space than the Apollo 13 crew did more than half a century ago.
Today, for all humanity, you're pushing beyond that frontier.
Then a moving moment as the crew proposed naming two newly identified craters Integrity after their ship, and another after Commander Reed Weissman's late wife, who died of cancer in 2020.
Her name was Carol, the spouse of Reed, the mother of Katie and Ellie.
The crew visibly emotional, wiping tears and hugging. Weissman blowing kisses and throwing a heart back to his two daughters, who were watching in mission control, along with pilot Victor Glover's wife.
Hey, babe. I love you from the moon.
For 40 minutes behind the moon, a planned loss of radio contact before emerging from the backside to a new Earthrise and charting a course for home.
We will always choose Earth. We will always choose each other.
So they are on their way home, and they will break the moon's gravitational pull and be pulled home by the Earth's gravitational pull over the next few hours. And then they will pick up the speed rather dramatically as they are pulled home. Splashdown set for Friday at about 8 p.m. or so. But again, we are watching today to see if we start getting these spectacular images from the far side of the moon. Christine?
It's so cool. It brings new meaning, Tom, to love you to the moon and back. Right? It's just so cool.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll wait for those pictures. Let's bring in astronomer and space scientist Dr. Emily Rice for more. Dr. Rice, good morning. As you can see, Tom is geeking out, as is everyone, because this is just so cool. We witnessed this crew reach so many milestones yesterday. The record-breaking distance from Earth, seeing the far side of the moon, and a solar eclipse in space. Just another day at the office for these astronauts. Explain how groundbreaking this is.
This is just, I'd say unbelievable, but it's happening. It's so amazing. And this is, this is what they planned for. This is what they trained for. I think this is like their ultimate day at the office. I have heard today is a little bit of a rest day. And so hopefully they get to catch up on some sleep. They were working really, really hard yesterday. I was listening into the live feed as they were taking pictures of that far side of the moon. And that was like, they were on a tight schedule, down to the minute of who was at the window, who was taking a break, who was taking notes, who was taking photos. It was really wonderful to see, listen to that science in action from 250,000 miles away from the Earth yesterday. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, breaking records here, Dr. Rice. Artemis II beat the previous record set by Apollo 13 in 1970 by several thousand miles. How has our understanding of the moon evolved since then? And why has it taken us so long to push past this previous record?
Yeah, I mean, we've learned so much since and from the Apollo missions, which is really, really cool. All of the material that they brought back, so hundreds of pounds of moon rocks, have been kind of continuously analyzed in those 50 years. And as our instrumentation has gotten better, as our understanding of the moon has gotten better, we've discovered new things about the moon from those old existing samples, which is really, really cool. Like people that were not born during the Apollo missions have published papers using those moon rocks, which is very, very cool. And so going back to the moon like this, even though we're just taking pictures for now, we're taking pictures from closer than humans have been in over 50 years. And so it's very, very cool. A new treasure trove of data that scientists are definitely going to have fun with for years to come. And we also, we can't exactly predict what those astronauts are going to see. It depends on the exact mission timeline. That Terminator between the dark and the light that makes the features that the Terminator is crossing really stand out. Like they were talking about the mountain chains and the basins and the craters. We couldn't predict what they were going to see until we knew the exact mission timeline. And that Terminator is also constantly moving as the moon orbits the Earth. And so these pictures are just, almost unpredictable, except that I know that they were scheduling it down to the minute. And so I'm really excited to see these.
I do love that they said, look, we hope that these records don't stand for long, right? Because they want this generation, the next generation, just to keep pushing. It's been more than 50 years since the last human moon landing. Why didn't NASA send the crew to the moon's surface?
This crew is preparing for the moon's surface. So this is a really important step to really the main goal, like NASA has emphasized, that it's a test mission, and they are testing out this Orion capsule. This is the first time that humans have been in this capsule. And I think it's amazing, actually, to have the capsule go to the moon the first time. One of the things that the Apollo mission did was test out that capsule in low Earth orbit for a couple missions before sending astronauts to orbit the moon. So there was a couple Apollo missions in the capsule before Apollo 8. This time, there was the uncrewed Apollo or uncrewed Artemis I that went around the moon, and then people in it and to the moon and back. It's amazing. I think that we've kind of come this far already.
Totally.
And putting people on the moon is the next step for sure. Artemis IV, I believe.
This history-making crew on their way home. What challenges do they face now as they prepare to enter Earth's orbit? What's next here for them?
This is going to be a big one to watch, too, because this is going to be the fastest re-entry by humans, I believe, ever. Like Tom said, they're picking up speed now. It's not really a break in the gravity, but a gradual shift from the moon's sphere of influence to the Earth's sphere of influence. And as they get closer and closer to Earth, they're going to speed up. They're only traveling a little over 1,000 miles per hour right now, I believe. As they get closer to the Earth, when they come into the Earth's atmosphere on Friday, they're going to be traveling at potentially 25,000 miles per hour. And then they'll have to be slowed down. They'll have to be protected by the heat shield on the Orion capsule. Hopefully we'll see a nice dramatic parachute landing into the Pacific and watch those astronauts come home.
So cool. Dr. Emily Rice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, flood watches and wind advisories in place for parts of Florida this morning. Let's get a closer look at what to expect from the heavy rain with your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Angie Lastman joins me now. Good morning, Angie.
Hi, Christine. Good morning to you. We, of course, are waking up to wet weather across the state of Florida. This is leaving us with already flood alerts up. You can see that flood watch extending all the way from the Space Coast down to South Florida. 7 million people included in that, and just kind of a mess of rain this morning. We've got a lot of moisture that we're going to tap into over the short term here, over the next really 3 days across this region. Today, we're watching for the urban flooding, the localized flooding that you often see when we pick up a couple inches of rain here in a short period of time. We've got that moderate beach erosion happening and those high risks of rip currents also on the table because our winds are so strong coming in with that onshore flow. We've got still some of that rain in the picture for tomorrow. By the way, I know this is kind of annoying for folks that might have outdoor plans, but we actually need this kind of rain across this region. So it'll be welcomed rain in some ways when it comes to our drought conditions there. As we get through at least Thursday, maybe picking up 3 inches or so closer to the East Coast, but there could be isolated locations that see upward of 5, maybe even 6 inches of rain here between now and the end of our work week. So we are concerned about flooding. We know it's not hard for folks to see some of that flooding across that region. So something to watch for if you're heading out for the commute today and even through the next couple of days. I mentioned the erosion and those rip current risks. That's because we've got those really strong winds. So 9 million people under wind advisories, again, stretching from the central coast of Florida, the central east coast of Florida, I should say, all the way up into northern Florida. A couple of power outages possible, but I really think those 20 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts are going to be most problematic the closer you get to the coast. So the coastal erosion will likely be an issue, and anyone planning on getting in the water, likely seeing a high rip current risk. This is, of course, something you want to be careful of all through today, but even likely into the next couple of days as we don't look to see those winds kind of come down all that soon. And this does go into portions of southern Georgia as well. So heads up there. Meanwhile, a little bit of rain and some snow across parts of the Northeast and the Great Lakes. We've got a bit of the shower activity happening farther to the east, but notice the snow showers that are going to kind of work across New England here as the day goes by. It does eventually kind of wrap up pretty quickly. This is 8 p.m. tonight, so you can see just a couple of lingering snow showers, but that system mostly long gone. In the wake of it, though, we are continuing to see some chilly temperatures across parts of the Appalachians, and you can see extending from the East Coast really back all the way west towards Illinois. This is because our temperatures are into the 20s and 30s and feeling kind of pretty chilly in some spots. Detroit, just 14-degree wind chill. We've got 30 for what it feels like in Scranton, 36 for Hazard. These temperatures are going to be quite chilly here for the extended period. We're talking 10 to 20 degrees below average for this time of year, even as we get into the afternoon hours. Just a high of 54 in New York City, 41 in Chicago. So no springtime warmth just yet, but there is some on the way. Notice the East Coast still remains below normal, but Chicago back up above normal by the time we get into tomorrow. So some 60s, some 70s across parts of the Midwest. You can see Memphis topping out at 78. And then we're really going to start to see things warm up, I think, as we get into the end of our work week and into the weekend. Notice 72 on Saturday in New York City. That's calling my name. I don't know about you, Christine, but
Me
even
too.
Places like Fort Worth, we're going to be into the 80s. We've got across the Tennessee Valley some 70s. So there is warmth in our future. Have no fear.
I'm still wearing my winter coat.
I haven't put mine away yet.
But I can put it away
maybe. I'll get back to you next week.
All right, Angie Lastman, hedging like
exactly.
a good meteorologist. Much more to come here on Morning News Now later this hour. Good morning, angels. The stars of the iconic 70s TV show Charlie's Angels reflect on their groundbreaking roles on the, I can't believe it, 50th anniversary of that series. But up first, some older workers are revamping their resumes. When we come back, I'm going to show you the tricks some job seekers are turning to hide their years of experience. We are back now with a closer look at ageism in the job market. A better than expected jobs report last Friday showing unemployment declined to 4.3%. That's progress, but some Americans, especially older women, say they feel like their prospects are still bleak. And now some job seekers are hiding years of experience. They're worried about age discrimination as AI, artificial intelligence, plays a growing role in hiring. Some are calling it resume Botox.
There's an old saying that age is just a number, but some battling the job market right now might disagree. In the last few years, Karen Loomis shifted her career from corporate marketing to academia, public speaking, even starting her own business. But that was never the plan.
I had no idea when I entered this market that there was ever going to be a ceiling, a barrier of some type.
She says she never had trouble finding a corporate job until she hit her 50s. Across social media, some career experts are coming forward with the same advice for older applicants: to leave no trace of age on their resumes, calling it resume Botox. In this age of AI filtering hundreds, even thousands of resumes for many openings, some job seekers say they're slashing years of experience from their resumes.
Should you lie on your resume? Unpopular opinion, yes.
As soon as you're over 45, employers start trying not to hire you.
I remove any mention of years of experience.
They're proud of that experience, and I totally get it. But there are perceptions out there about experienced workers.
Career advisor Colleen Paulson says needing a resume makeover isn't exclusive to women. But studies show gender-based discrimination in the workplace and job hunting is a double whammy for older women, especially over 50. Glassdoor reports its users mentioned ageism 133% more in the first quarter of 2025 from the first quarter of 2024. Even with discrimination based on age illegal since the late 60s, many fear the problem is only getting worse with AI.
I'm not getting the interviews, I'm putting in the time. And so I knew what I was working for against was algorithms. If you get weeded out before you get a chance, we're saying that only people who know how to use technology and know how to game the system are going to be employable.
About 98% of Fortune 500 companies use what's called applicant tracking systems in the hiring process now, with some of these systems supported by AI tools. Last year, one lawsuit claimed recruitment platform Workday discriminates against candidates 40 and older with its AI. Workday telling NBC News, quote, "The court has already dismissed all claims of intentional discrimination, and there is no evidence our tools harm protected groups," adding AI recruiting tools don't make hiring decisions. But several studies show some AI language models have a baked-in bias, especially against older women. And all that is layered on top of a deteriorating job market overall. 2025 was the worst non-recession year for job creation since 2003.
And it's an employer's market. I am seeing lower offers now than I've seen in a long, long time. People are taking pay cuts. People are doing whatever they have to do to put food on the table.
But for some, like Karen, the stress of the job search is worth opting out altogether.
It takes a long time to mentally grasp that you are no longer, a viable option. And okay, then what's next?
All right, so here's what hiring experts tell us you should do. Apply directly to the company's website where you're trying to get a job rather than a third-party site. A company hiring is going to look at their own place first. Keep your resume simple. This is interesting. Avoid images, lots of columns or multiple columns, unusual or strange fonts. It actually can confuse the AI readers. Keep it simple. And also keeping it simple, use specific quantitative numbers, data in short, concise sentences. Tell exactly what you've done to improve revenue or sales or whatever the numbers you can use, because that is something also that the machines can read. It's interesting because new people coming into the workforce are worried that AI is taking those entry-level jobs, and you've got these older workers who are worried that the AI is actually weeding them out as well. So it's just a whole new frontier, really, for people who are trying to get a job. All right, coming up on Morning News Now, Decision Day deja vu. Right now, voters in Georgia heading to the polls for the second time in less than a month in a special runoff election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to break down what's at stake when we come back. Stay with us. are back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with some breaking news right now and a new threat toward Iran from President Trump. NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapoor joins me now with other headlines this morning. Sahil, good morning.
Good morning, Christine. And regarding the war in Iran, on Truth Social this morning, President Trump wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows?" End quote. In other news, the Supreme Court clearing the way for the Trump administration to dismiss the criminal case against the president's former advisor, Steve Bannon, for defying a congressional subpoena. Bannon was convicted and served time in jail on 2 counts of contempt of Congress in the January 6th investigation, so the dismissal would be largely symbolic in wiping out the conviction from Bannon's record. It comes after President Trump issued pardons to the perpetrators of the attack on the Capitol, more than 1,000 in total, who were convicted or charged with crimes. And on Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader John Thune is eyeing a vote this month to approve the budget blueprint for another Republican party line spending bill, a sequel to last year's One Big Beautiful bill. This one would fund ICE and CBP, perhaps also the Iran war. Thune's goal is approving the budget by the end of April, his office tells NBC News, which would unlock the path for Republicans to bypass a Senate filibuster and pass the bill without Democrats. The move is part of the GOP strategy to end the record-long DHS government shutdown, which is still ongoing. Trump has said he wants that bill on his desk by June 1st. And that is a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Christine?
All right. Thanks, Sahil. It is Election Day in Georgia. This morning, voters are heading to the polls to cast their ballots in a special congressional runoff. 2 candidates are vying to win Georgia's 14th congressional district. The winner will serve out the remainder of the term vacated by Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene. She resigned 3 months ago after a public rift with President Trump. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist joins me now with what's at stake. Aaron, good morning. There was a special election for this congressional seat just last month, but no one got a majority of the vote, which leads us to today's runoff. So what can you tell us about the candidates?
Yeah, Christine, good morning. The polls are open right now, and there are 2 candidates on the ballot this time compared to the 18 candidates that were on the ballot for the special election the first time around. And so in this runoff, voters will have to choose between the top 2 vote getters from the first election. Those are Sean Harris, the Democrat you see on your screen here, and Clay Fuller, the Republican. Both of them retired military, Harris Army, Fuller Air Force, and they have tried to present themselves with really stark differences. Clay Fuller suggesting that he is a MAGA candidate, an America First candidate who is very much supportive of President Trump's policies, arguing for them in every instance that he's had an opportunity to, saying that he believes the president's policies have been working. We've heard from Sean Harris on the other side, though, who says that he believes that there's not enough focus on pocketbook issues, in particular for people who live in the 14th district of Georgia, congressional district of Georgia. And so that really, I think, starts to paint a picture of the difference you have here. But let's be clear, Christine, this is a bright red, ruby red, fire engine red district in Georgia. President Trump won this district by more than 30 points in 2024. I think he won more votes in this district than any other part of Georgia. And so this is going to be an uphill battle for Sean Harris.
Yeah, we know that the president endorsed the Republican Clay Fuller in this race. Do you think it'll be a big role the president would have in this election?
Well, I'll tell you, Clay Fuller, almost every opportunity he gets, makes the point that he got President Trump's endorsement. There were about a dozen other Republican candidates in the special election. President Trump obviously endorsed Clay Fuller. And so when you talk to him, he makes clear that he is 100% behind everything that President Trump is doing. And if he needed a second endorsement from President Trump, he got that last night as well. The president posting on his social media site that I'm asking all Republicans, America First patriots, and MAGA warriors to please get out and vote for a fantastic candidate, Clay Fuller, who has my complete and total endorsement. And again, like I said, that's something that a lot of voters that we've spoken to said was valuable, maybe not the most important thing about Clay Fuller, but something that was valuable to them, Christine.
And this seat then is up for grabs again in the midterm election, right? So the winner then would serve a full 2-year term. What are some of the big issues on the minds of voters in Georgia?
Yeah, you're right. This is finishing the term of Marjorie Taylor Greene, which runs through the end of this year. And then there's a primary election for both parties next month here in Georgia for a permanent candidate for that seat. And so both of these men are expected to run in the primary, so they could be on the ballot together again in November for this seat. Sean Harris has said that while he supports what President Trump has done with closing the border, he doesn't support really anything else that President Trump has done. But he's also said that he's not sort of in the bag for Democrats either. He is a Democrat, but he says when he runs across policies that are counter to what people in Georgia's 14th congressional district want, that he may push back on Democrats. Clay Fuller, for his part, has indicated that he supports the president's economic policies, acknowledging that things like gas prices, for example, have gone up significantly since the war with Iran started, which he also supports the president's efforts in that regard. He says that he believes that this is something that will correct itself over time, Christine, and that Georgia 14 Republicans will eventually benefit from what President Trump is doing.
All right, Aaron, covering that race for us. Thank you so much. Coming up, summer bummer. Some Americans say they are reconsidering their vacation plans. We're going to unpack why more people are opting against going overseas and some tips on where to go instead next. We are back with a look at the summer travel season now being complicated by the war with Iran, driving global instability and pushing travel costs higher. According to a new poll by the Points Guy and YouGov, 24% of Americans say they are reconsidering their travel plans through the end of the year. For more, I want to bring in Clint Henderson, a spokesperson for the Points Guy. He also wrote about these survey results for the site. Clint, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. A lot of people have asked me about this. There is anxiety focused specifically around international travel, especially locations in the Middle East. How is that changing the way people are planning their vacations and trips abroad this year?
Yeah, you know, the hunger for travel has been pretty insatiable among the American public in the past 5 years or so. Interestingly, I think the war in Iran specifically is starting to have a little bit of influence here. About 35% of Americans in total are either avoiding international travel altogether or reconsidering their travel plans. So you can see 20% overall skipping international travel, another 15% avoiding certain destinations. We have not seen that translate yet to a drop in demand, but I imagine that will come if things continue the way they are.
And you are right. It's been 5 years of insatiable overseas travel. Beyond the Middle East, I guess, where else are people at least saying they are hesitant to travel overseas?
Yeah, so it's kind of surprisingly, 68% in the Middle East, that's kind of obvious, but another 40% are avoiding Central America. And then you can see Europe, the Middle East, Asia, it's pretty widespread. So even Europe is off limits for some Americans these days. Again, though, I think there's so much demand that's not really affecting things so far.
Let's talk about cost. In general, how are higher prices, I guess, crimping what people can actually afford this summer?
Yeah, so this is going to be a huge factor this summer. I think, interestingly, 33% of people are traveling less. 25% are being more strategic or changing their destination. So there is some pivoting going on here. We have not seen that translate into a big drop in demand yet, but I assume that will happen as we go on. Interestingly, prices are way up. So we have a dashboard with PointsPath. We're showing prices increasing about 15% year over year for summer travel. So that's substantial.
Yeah, I've been watching summer travel fairs, and I regret that I didn't buy some tickets last week already. For those who are taking summer vacations, what are the best tips for an affordable and I guess, stress-free trip here?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is book as soon as possible, especially for summer, but I would even book Christmas because I do think with jet fuel skyrocketing, I do think prices will go up even further. So lock in those prices now and make sure you're not booking basic economy. There's all these new sort of AI tools out there that will track prices for you and get you a trip credit if the price drops. So what I'm telling people to do is lock in fares, don't book basic economy, but then if the price drops, if things get better, all of a sudden and prices go down, you can get a trip credit for the price difference. So that's a great tool that not a lot of Americans know about.
Yeah, unless you bought the basic economy. Like if you buy the very cheapest bare bones, mostly on most airlines, you can't go back and say, hey, I found this cheaper, because you want to make sure you get the regular economy. That's a really good advice. Don't be basic. Clint Henderson, you are not basic. You are wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Nice to see you. Time now for some financial headlines. A major legal win for a prediction giant, Kalshi. NBC News business and economy reporter Allie Canal has your Money Minute. Good morning again, Allie.
Good morning, Christine. Yes, this is a big win for Kalshi, which is fighting multiple legal battles here. Now, a federal appeals court ruling that states like New Jersey can't block its platform. The court said these event-based contracts fall under federal regulation, not state gambling laws. And it marks the first time a federal appeals court has weighed in as the battle between states and prediction market companies continues to escalate. Meanwhile, a shakeup in late-night TV with media mogul Byron Allen set to take over the late-night time slot at CBS. The network says it will replace The Late Show with Stephen Colbert with a comedy block featuring Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen, airing back-to-back episodes starting in May. Now, under the deal, Allen is actually paying CBS for the airtime. It's a so-called time-buy arrangement, as networks face growing financial pressures in late-night TV, with viewers and those ad dollars continuing to shift. And finally, Netflix is launching a new app, although it's just for kids. The streaming giant said its latest app, called Playground, combines shows and interactive games all in one place, allowing kids to engage with characters from series like Peppa Pig and Dr. Seuss. Netflix says there are no ads or in-app purchases, and the app is included with a standard subscription. So trying to, hook those kids young, keep them on the screens.
Yeah, the no in-app purchases hooks the
Yes,
parents. That's
exactly.
very good. All right, nice to see you. Thank you, Allie. This morning, we're celebrating a major milestone for an iconic TV show. For 5 seasons, Charlie's Angels was a smash hit, following 3 crime-fighting private detectives and helping change the face of television. Last night, the stars reunited for the show's, I can't believe it, 50th anniversary. NBC News special anchor Maria Shriver sat down with them to reflect on the show, their legacy, and what it all means to them today.
Good morning, Angels.
With those 3 simple words, from the mysterious Charlie, who was heard but never seen, a new era in television was born. From the moment it debuted in 1976, Charlie's Angels became a landmark moment in television history and a bona fide cultural phenomenon, one that endures to this day.
All right, ladies, 50 years. Did you ever think when you started on this show that 50 years later you'd be sitting down to talk about it?
I didn't think I'd be sitting anywhere 50 years later, I don't think.
But what do you think it is about this show that has kept people interested in it for 50 years?
It just showed that, women are capable. Women can do things.
That we were for each other. It was a sisterhood.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the audience responded to. And guess what? Time did not break that sisterhood. We're still friends today.
Friends and icons. The Paley Center honoring 2 of the show's original stars, Kate Jackson and Jacqueline Smith, as well as Cheryl Ladd, who arrived in season 2, replacing the late Farrah Fawcett. Angels redefined how Americans saw women, showcasing not just their beauty, but their intelligence and power.
It was women chasing danger instead of being rescued from danger.
Women not being rescued, but doing the rescue.
The show was largely Kate Jackson's idea. At the time, she was already on a show called The Rookies. And she came to the show's creator, the legendary Aaron Spelling, with an idea.
The Rookies was about 3 young rookie cops, so just flip that. We'll make it 3 young women.
And you suggested
Charlie's
Angels.
Angels was an instant hit, following the crime-fighting adventures of 3 women working at a private detective agency, catapulting the women to instant stardom.
So take me back 50 years. The show premieres, and really in the first year, it goes from kind of 0 to 25 million people watching it every week. What was that like for you?
It changed our lives immediately.
What does that feel like? Are you going like, whoa?
We're rock stars.
You were strong and beautiful, and you were brainy, and you got the job done. You weren't being rescued, and you ended up on the cover of Time magazine. What did that signify to you? What did that say to you to be on the cover of Time magazine at that time?
I thought it was amazing. it was the first glimpse of possibility for women.
Yes.
And we were in their living rooms and sort of moving into their imagination of, wow, you know, look, be more daring in life, do the unexpected.
After the first year, Farrah Fawcett decides to leave this juggernaut of success. Did that shock you?
It was a surprise.
Definitely shocked us.
Cheryl Ladd was tapped as Farrah's replacement, but initially turned the role down. You know, that's a big kind of gaping hole to come into, right?
Yeah,
These three angels.
It was a little nerve-wracking because, you know, I was putting myself out there. We never missed a beat.
We didn't.
Cheryl came on, never missed a beat.
The series was also fertile ground for a bevy of soon-to-be stars, including Tommy Lee Jones, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kim Basinger, and a smooth-faced Tom Selleck. But beyond the beauty and the capers, at its heart, the women say, the show was about friendship.
I always talk about the power of girlfriends. It's so important, the power of girlfriends.
I felt the same way. I thought that showing women who were for each other, not competing with each other, that we were all for each other. Nobody ever had to say, I've got your back. That was just
implicit.
That's the way it was.
It's a bond that has extended far beyond the show. Each one of you is a cancer survivor, and we know also Farrah Fawcett also had cancer. And did you share stories amongst each other about your battles?
It just connects. It just connects you.
Right.
Because you know what they're going through. And that's when I talk about the power of girlfriends.
Girlfriends who have been through the fire of fame and celebrity. So the three of you are real survivors. Survivors of a tough business. Survivors of cancer.
That's good.
The show catapulted each to other successes. Kate was in another hit TV show, The Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Jacqueline started a clothing empire, and Cheryl went on to Broadway. But Angels is the show that has endured for all of them.
It was like catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Wow. Our thanks to Maria Shriver for that report. And the lightning is still striking from a new memoir this morning. And to a reboot, the three girls are going strong.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.